Rum is a distilled alcoholic spirit made by fermenting then distilling sugarcane molasses or sugarcane juice. The distillate, a clear liquid, is usually aged in oak barrels. Most rums are produced in Caribbean and American countries, but also in other sugar-producing countries, such as the Philippines and India. Rums are produced in various grades. Light rums are commonly used in cocktails, whereas golden and dark rums were typically consumed straight or neat, iced on the rocks, or used for cooking, but are now commonly consumed with mixers. Premium rums are made to be consumed either straight or iced. Rum plays a part in the culture of most islands of the West Indies as well as the maritime provinces and Newfoundland, in Canada. The beverage has famous associations with the Royal Navy, where it was mixed with water or beer to make grog, and piracy, where it was consumed as bumbo. Rum has also served as a popular medium of economic exchange, used to help fund enterprises such as slavery, sea triangular trade, organized crime, and military insurgencies, e.g., the American Revolution and Australia's Rum Rebellion. History origins Vagbhata, an Indian Ayurvedic physician, 7th century AD, advised a man to drink unvitiated liquor like rum and wine, and mead mixed with mango juice, together with friends. Shiddu, a drink produced by fermentation and distillation of sugarcane juice, is mentioned in other Sanskrit texts. 13. Maria Dembinska states that the king, Peter I of Cyprus, also called Pierre I de Lusignan, the 9th of October 1328 to the 17th of January 1369, brought rum with him as a gift for the other royal dignitaries at the Congress of Krakow, held in 1364. This is plausible given the position of Cyprus as a significant producer of sugar in the Middle Ages, although the alcoholic sugar drink named rum by Dembinska may not have resembled modern distilled rums very closely. Dembinska also suggests Cyprus rum was often drunk mixed with an almond milk drink, also produced in Cyprus, called sumada. Another early rum-like drink is brum. Produced by the Malay people, that beverage dates back thousands of years. Marco Polo also recorded a 14th century account of a very good wine of sugar that was offered to him in the area that became modern-day Iran. The first distillation of rum in the Caribbean took place on the sugarcane plantations there in the 17th century. Plantation slaves discovered that molasses, a byproduct of the sugar refining process, could be fermented into alcohol. Later, when distillation of these alcoholic byproducts concentrated the alcohol, and removed some impurities, producing the first modern rums. Tradition suggests this type of rum first originated on the island of Nevis. A 1651 document from Barbados stated, the chief fuddling they make in the island is rumbullion, alias kill divil, and this is made of sugar canes distilled, a hot, hellish, and terrible liquor. However, in the decade of the 1620s, rum production was also recorded in Brazil, and many historians believe that rum found its way to Barbados along with sugarcane and its cultivation methods from Brazil. A liquid identified as rum has been found in a tin bottle found on the Swedish warship Vasa, which sank in 1628. By the late 17th century, rum had replaced French brandy as the exchange alcohol of choice in the triangle trade. Canoemen and guards on the African side of the trade, who had previously been paid in brandy, were now paid in rum. Fermentation. Sugarcane is harvested to make sugarcane juice and molasses. Artisanal rum distillery along the N7 road. Most rum is produced from molasses, which is made from sugarcane. A rum's quality is dependent on the quality and variety of the sugarcane that was used to create it. The sugar cane's quality depends on the soil type and climate that it was grown in. Within the Caribbean, much of this molasses is from Brazil. A notable exception is the French-speaking islands, where sugarcane juice is the preferred base ingredient. In Brazil itself, the distilled alcoholic drink derived from cane juice is distinguished from rum and called cachaça. Yeast and water are added to the base ingredient to start the fermentation process. While some rum producers allow wild yeasts to perform the fermentation, most use specific strains of yeast to help provide a consistent taste and predictable fermentation time. Dunda, the yeast-rich foam from previous fermentations, is the traditional yeast source in Jamaica. The yeast employed will determine the final taste and aroma profile, says Jamaican master blender Joy Spence. Distillers that make lighter rums, such as Bacardi, prefer to use faster-working yeasts. Use of slower-working yeasts causes more esters to accumulate during fermentation, allowing for a fuller-tasting rum. Fermentation products like 2-ethyl-3-methyl-butyric acid and esters like ethyl butyrate and ethyl hexanoate give rise to the sweet and fruitiness of rum. Distillation. As with all other aspects of rum production, no standard method is used for distillation. While some producers work in batches using pot stills, most rum production is done using column still distillation. Pot still output contains more congeners than the output from column stills, so produces fuller tasting rums. Aging and blending. Many countries require rum to be aged for at least 1 year. This aging is commonly performed in used bourbon casks, but may also be performed in other types of wooden casks or stainless steel tanks. The aging process determines the color of the rum. When aged in oak casks, it becomes dark, whereas rum aged in stainless steel tanks remains virtually colorless. Due to the tropical climate common to most rum-producing areas, rum matures at a much higher rate than is typical for whiskey or brandy. An indication of this higher rate is the Angel's share, or amount of product lost to evaporation. While products aged in France or Scotland see about 2% loss each year, tropical rum producers may see as much as 10%. After aging, rum is normally blended to ensure a consistent flavor, the final step in the rum-making process. During blending, light rums may be filtered to remove any color gained during aging. For dark rums, caramel may be added for color. There have been attempts to match the molecular composition of aged rum in significantly shorter time spans with artificial aging using heat and light. Colonial North America. Pirates carrying rum to shore to purchase slaves. As depicted in the Pirate's Own book by Charles Elms. After development of rum in the Caribbean, the drink's popularity spread to colonial North America. To support the demand for the drink, the first rum distillery in the British colonies of North America was set up in 1664 on Staten Island. Boston, Massachusetts had a distillery 3 years later. The manufacture of rum became early colonial New England's largest and most prosperous industry. New England became a distilling center due to the technical, metalworking and cooperage skills and abundant lumber. The rum produced there was lighter, more like whiskey. Much of the rum was exported. Distillers in Newport, RI even made an extra strong rum specifically to be used as a slave currency. Rhode Island rum even joined gold as an accepted currency in Europe for a period of time. While New England triumphed on price and consistency, Europeans still viewed the best rums as coming from the Caribbean. Estimates of rum consumption in the American colonies before the American Revolutionary War had every man, woman, or child drinking an average of 3 imperial gallons 14 L of rum each year. In the 18th century, ever-increasing demands for sugar, molasses, rum, and slaves led to a feedback loop which intensified the triangle trade. When France banned the production of rum in their New World possessions to end domestic competition with brandy, New England distillers were able to undercut producers in the British Caribbean by buying cut-rate molasses from the French sugar plantations. Outcry from the British rum industry led to the Molasses Act of 1733, which levied a prohibitive tax on molasses imported into Britain's North American colonies from foreign countries or colonies. Rum at this time accounted for approximately 80% of New England's exports, and paying the duty would have put the distilleries out of business. As a result, both compliance with and enforcement of the act were minimal. Strict enforcement of the Molasses Act's successor, the Sugar Act, in 1764 may have helped cause the American Revolution. In the slave trade, rum was also used as a medium of exchange. For example, the slave Venture Smith, whose history was later published, had been purchased in Africa for 4 gallons of rum plus a piece of calico. Citation needed. The popularity of rum continued after the American Revolution, George Washington insisting on a barrel of Barbados rum at his 1789 inauguration. Rum started to play an important role in the political system. Candidates attempted to influence the outcome of an election through their generosity with rum. The people would attend the hustings to see which candidate appeared more generous. The candidate was expected to drink with the people to show he was independent and truly a Republican. Eventually, the restrictions on sugar imports from the British islands of the Caribbean, combined with the development of American whiskies, led to a decline in the drink's popularity in North America. Naval rum. Rum's association with piracy began with British privateers trading in the valuable commodity. Some of the privateers became pirates and buccaneers, with a continuing fondness for rum. The association between the two was only strengthened by literary works such as Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. The association of rum with the Royal Navy began in 1655, when the British fleet captured the island of Jamaica. With the availability of domestically produced rum, the British changed the daily ration of liquor given to seamen from French brandy to rum. Navy rum was originally a blend mixed from rums produced in the West Indies. It was initially supplied at a strength of 100 degrees UK proof, 57% alcohol by volume ABV, as that was the only strength that could be tested by the gunpowder test. Before the invention of the hydrometer, the term Navy strength is used in modern Britain to specify spirits bottled at 57% ABV. While the ration was originally given neat, or mixed with lime juice, the practice of watering down the rum began around 1740. To help minimize the effect of the alcohol on his sailors, Admiral Edward Vernon had the rum ration watered, producing a mixture that became known as grog. Many believe the term was coined in honor of the grogram cloak Admiral Vernon wore in rough weather. The Royal Navy continued to give its sailors a daily rum ration, known as a tot, until the practice was abolished on 31 July 1970. Today, a totty of rum is still issued on special occasions, using an order to splice the mainbrace, which may only be given by the Queen, a member of the royal family or, on certain occasions, the Admiralty Board in the UK, with similar restrictions in other Commonwealth navies. Recently, such occasions have included royal marriages or birthdays, or special anniversaries. In the days of daily rum rations, the order to splice the mainbrace meant double rations would be issued. A legend involving naval rum and Horatio Nelson says that following his victory and death at the Battle of Trafalgar, Nelson's body was preserved in a cask of rum to allow transportation back to England. Upon arrival, however, the cask was opened and found to be empty of rum. The pickled body was removed and, upon inspection, it was discovered that the sailors had drilled a hole in the bottom of the cask and drunk all the rum, hence the term Nelson's blood being used to describe rum. It also serves as the basis for the term tapping the Admiral being used to describe surreptitiously sucking liquor from a cask through a straw. The details of the story are disputed, as many historians claim the cask contained French brandy, whilst others claim instead the term originated from a toast to Admiral Nelson. Variations of the story, involving different notable corpses, have been in circulation for many years. The official record states merely that the body was placed in refined spirits and does not go into further detail. The Royal New Zealand Navy was the last naval force to give sailors a free daily tot of rum. The Royal Canadian Navy still gives a rum ration on special occasions. The rum is usually provided out of the Commanding Officer's Fund, and is 150 proof, 75%. The order to splice the mainbrace, i.e. take rum, can be given by the Queen as Commander-in-Chief, as occurred on 29 June 2010, when she gave the order to the Royal Canadian Navy as part of the celebration of their 100th anniversary. Rum was also occasionally consumed mixed with gunpowder, either after the proof was tested. Proof spirit, when mixed with gunpowder, would just support combustion, 57% ABV, or to seal a vow or show loyalty to a rebellion. Colonial Australia Beanley Rum Distillery, on the banks of the Albert River near Brisbane, Queensland, circa 1912. Rum became an important trade good in the early period of the colony of New South Wales. The value of rum was based upon the lack of coinage among the population of the colony, and due to the drink's ability to allow its consumer to temporarily forget about the lack of creature comforts available in the new colony. The value of rum was such that convict settlers could be induced to work the lands owned by officers of the New South Wales Corps. Due to rum's popularity among the settlers, the colony gained a reputation for drunkenness, though their alcohol consumption was less than levels commonly consumed in England at the time. Australia was so far away from Britain that the convict colony, established in 1788, faced severe food shortages, compounded by poor conditions for growing crops and the shortage of livestock. Eventually it was realised that it might be cheaper for India, instead of Britain, to supply the settlement of Sydney. By 1817, 2 out of every 3 ships which left Sydney went to Java or India, and cargoes from Bengal fed and equipped the colony. Casks of Bengal rum, which was reputed to be stronger than Jamaican rum, and not so sweet, were brought back in the depths of nearly every ship from India. The cargoes were floated ashore clandestinely before the ships docked, by the British Marines Regiment who controlled the sails. It was against the direct orders of the governors, who had ordered the searching of every docking ship. Britons living in India grew wealthy through sending ships to Sydney, laden half with rice and half with bad spirits. Rum was intimately involved in the only military takeover of an Australian government, known as the Rum Rebellion. When William Bligh became governor of the colony, he attempted to remedy the perceived problem with drunkenness by outlawing the use of rum as a medium of exchange. In response to Bligh's attempt to regulate the use of rum, in 1808, the New South Wales Corps marched with fixed bayonets to Government House and placed Bligh under arrest. The mutineers continued to control the colony until the arrival of Governor Lachlan Macquarie in 1810.